Hey guys, going to make a quick video here, kind of walking through the steps for rendering a video and image sequence or rendered sequence of images. So it's not going to be rendering out a video file in this case. It's going to be rendering out just a series of images frame by frame. There's some steps you can take where you can make it just very basic. If you're doing like a trial run, you don't want all the things to be seen. It doesn't have to be an Arnold renderer. You can do kind of a test run and render with Maya software. So I'll show that. There's also things that you should set and render by, so that when you do render by Arnold, you're not left with a nasty little watermark in your animation. So different ways that you can go about doing this. So let's see here. I am first going to check my playback speed. So I'm going to play everything here. And if things seem to be playing a little rapidly, then what you can do is right click on your timeline, go to playback speed, and make sure that you are in play every frame max real time. Because if you do it the other way, and this sometimes is set to this by default, play every frame free, a lot of times you're left with this, which is way not realistic. Not that this spiky ball thing is realistic to begin with, but as this goes, we keep it at that. This is my intention for it to move at about this rate, and that's real time, okay? And what real time means, click on this little guy right here that looks like he's running away from a saw aimed at his back, and click on that guy. Actually, it's like a little gear, but you get it. And that's your animation preferences, and you want it set to 24 frames per second. That would be real time. Check your start and end playback and animation, 1 to 96. So that is my animation here, 1 to 96 frames. So that's 5 seconds worth of animated frames here. And I'm going to scroll down. Playback speed, every frame for sure. Playback 1. Okay, so 1 frame at a time. Not animating my 2s here. And then save. Now, let's see, I'm going to save my file. I'm going to save as, let's see, save scene as, I'm going to save it as, what do I want to save it as? Spiky ball thing, okay? And save. So I got my spiky ball thing file saved. What I want to do is file. I'm going to set my project. Set project. And what this does, it organizes a folder for your workflow, basically. It keeps images and rendered items together. So I'm going to go to my desktop, Maya projects, and I want it to be in here. So this is the directory that I want. So I'm going to set it in there. Now, some things I want to check out first before I jump into this is, let's get into Windows, rendering editors, and let's go to render settings. So I have mine set up to render using Arnold. Like I said, I have some background here that requires an Arnold renderer. If you're just doing kind of a trial run, then you might set it to Maya software. Either way, the settings that I'm changing here are going to be the same on either one. You're just using a different renderer than the other. So for this purpose right here, I'm going to use the Arnold. Most people will probably be using something like this for a final product. And what I'm going to do is go down the list here and start making some changes. File name prefix, I'm going to leave it at that, not set. Using the scene name is fine. Image format, so like I said, it's going to be rendering out different images. PNG is what I want. Moving down the line, frame animation extension. So each PNG is going to be saved by its name and the number according to the frame that it is. That can be very helpful, especially if your rendering gets stopped halfway through. Then you know, like, hey, well, I know now where I can pick up for my next render batch. Okay, so That's very important, is make sure you change that. It might not have it at first. It might just be just name single frame. I'm not sure what it starts out as, but name number extension is what you want, or pound sign is what that is. Custom frame, or sorry, I was thinking about something else. Custom extension. Well, that was rude. Anyways, I fixed that. Start frame 1, end frame 84. That was my previous project. I am now at 96. So I'm going to change this. By default, it might say something like 10, actually. By frame, 1 frame, right? Not skipping any frames. Renderable camera. I'm in perspective view. I don't have a camera set, and this is fine for now. And let's look here. Down, down, down. Presets. I'm set at a generic 540, HD 540 setting here. And that's fine. If you were wanting something higher quality, better clarity, then 1080 would probably be best. But I'm keeping it as this for now, just to save time in rendering. And it tells you your width and your height, so you can expect that kind of size for your video file when it's done. Resolution is already set based on this, so I'm going to keep that as it is. Everything here looks good. Again, I'm using the Arnold renderer, and I'm going to close. Okay, now, if I want to preview at any point of what my scene looks like, you're not too sure about what this frame looks like. I don't know about that shadow here on these spikes. You want to see what that looks like before you render. Hit your render view button here and check it out. Okay, so everything checks out. That looks fine to me. There's a lot of highlight here, which can be adjusted, maybe too much brightness on that. And it's not something I can adjust here in my render view. So it might be something that would be able to adjust in software or in my background editing. But clicking on this, if you want a quick preview of what that looks like in that current frame, then that's a good thing to have. Or good thing to know as far as where to find that. All right, so let's say I'm ready to render now. So what I want to go to is render. And I want to go to render sequence. Not doing a batch render. Render sequence is where it's at. And I'm going to click on this button here and make sure that I'm in my perspective view. All of this is fine. I don't need any of this done. I don't have an alternate output file location for this sample that I'm doing, so this is okay. And render sequence now. And as you see, it's going to go through frame by frame, starting with 1, and it shows you your progress down here at the bottom. So if you're ever curious as to how far you are, check this out down here. It's going through, rendering each frame, frame 6. There's not a lot happening in my video, so you kind of get an idea of how quick this goes with just one single animated object. Pretty soon, though, my fan on my computer is going to kick on, and it's going to start working pretty hard, even with a simple animation like this. So I'm going to pause this and let it finish all the way out. Yep, there goes the fan. All right, just like that, movie magic, everything's been rendered out. Sequence rendering completed as it states below the timeline. And I'm ready to close this out, and I'm going to search up where my images are. So let's open this up and go to desktop, my projects, and let's see where I'm looking. And found it right here. It's in my images folder since I didn't set it inside of a project folder. Here it is. To keep things nice and handy, what I would do is create a new folder in here and call this spiky ball thing. And what I want to do with that is drag my images in there, and I'm also going to take my project file that I have and save it in there as well. So as spiky ball thing is where my images are now. I've moved them there. Inside of this has more things as well. And I'm going to look at, here's 1, 2, 3, 4. This is why it's important that you have that file name, number, and then the extension. So I see that these are all PNG files, as they should be, and I rendered all the way to 96. So there's my rendered image sequence, all done. Now we're ready to take this into Premiere, and that's going to be a second part to this movie. So, but you do want to make sure that you have all of these easily accessible in a folder all together, preferably with your project file as well. So I go to File, Save Scene As, I can go into my spiky ball thing and save it in here. So this is now saved with that in that same folder. So we're ready for the next step now, and we'll see you then.